All right, so we're just going to go from here. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. My name is Brandon, aka the producer. I'm a host at MTG Lexicon. Today, we're just going to cover some really quick how to use OBS. For the most part, it's just pretty straightforward. We're going to go ahead and dive right into it. And we're going to go from the beginning to the end on how to use OBS. And this is going to be from install to you getting started. So we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to OBS and we're going to go to their website and we're going to see a couple of options for download in front of us. We got Windows, Mac, and Linux. It doesn't matter which one you choose as long as you choose one that works best for you in the platform that you're using. So we're going to start with Windows. All right, we're just going to next our way through this. All the exciting stuff, of course. Then we're going to launch OBS. Okay, it's going to say, do you want to set up the auto configuration wizard? A lot of people get stopped at this step thinking that, it's going to permanently set whatever it is you're going to do. Although that is not the case. I do recommend that you do it for a lot of people who are just get starting with OBS. It's a good thing to do because it'll figure out what your best settings are for not only your machine, but as well as your internet connection. In most cases, I would say go ahead and set that up. In this case, I'm going to say no, and I'll explain and tell you why in a minute. Okay, so now that we're in OBS, we're going to do a couple things. A lot of people get started by just adding sources and whatnot, but we're going to talk about one of the biggest things that a lot of people do that I think would probably help if they knew more about, and that's called scene nesting. What is scene nesting? Scene nesting is taking a scene, building it, and then using that scene in another scene. It's like sceneception. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to make one that says video. We're going to add our webcam here. Oh, wow. Okay. That's a steamy guy. All right. So we got this video and we want to add some elements to this. So let's go back here. I like this logo. This is a decent looking logo. Actually, it doesn't like that. So we're just going to go here. Add an image. I think there's some generic images that come with Windows, so let's see if we can find one. No? Okay. All right, let's go download an image real quick. All right. Sure, this looks good. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and add our image. We don't care how pretty this looks at the moment. We're just going to do this nice and quick. Yeah, okay. All right, so now that we got our image, and naturally you can put like a background to it or whatever else you want. Typically, most people build this little border area here like that, and so they have like an active border. You can use like video files and stuff like that and add the video files to your actual scene and video. But now what we're going to do is we're going to hop over here and we're going to add a scene, and we're going to use an existing. We're going to say our video, And now we can take this video and put it wherever we want. So let's say we had a background to this. We're going to go back over here real quick. We're just going to pull like a MTG, I don't know, desktop background. Ooh, I do like that. That's pretty steamy. I'm going to add image, backdrop. We're just going to put BD. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and put that one layer below. And now you can see that our video scene is its own independent thing. It's all one piece. I don't have to worry about, you know, my little logo here moving around without the video. So I can add more elements to this that actually make it easier for me to build larger and grander scenes. Now, the reason why this is important is this means that you're not going to be detached with your different scenes as you go from one scene to another, and it makes it a bit of an issue for you to expand on what you're doing, right? So that's one of the big things that I really want to make sure that a lot of people know, is that you can actually nest your scenes. So now we're going to talk about something else, and that's called plugins. Now, a lot of people use Slobs, which is the Streamlabs OBS, and although it's a great piece of software, it doesn't update as often as OBS does, and there's a different community and support behind it. So OBS being open source means that people can write a lot of code and plugins that you can use, whereas the Streamlabs is more limited to their own architecture and use. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the plugins and why that's important. All right. So in OBS software, they have a little resources section, and under resources, you have plugins. So we're going to take a look at some plugins that are really going to make your life kind of easier. And this is going to be something that I really want to make sure that people know exist, because you're not just limited to what you see in front of you with OBS. There's a whole other world that exists for OBS. Okay, so we're going to take a look at I guess Move is a good one to start with. So to add a plugin, it's pretty simple. We're just going to download it. Just going to extract it to where it already exists. Now it's important to know that for most of these plugins and whatnot, you're going to have to close OBS first and then go ahead and modify. So we're going to go ahead and oh, I went right past it the first time. There we go. Okay. All right, so most of these are pretty simple. It's a drag and drop method with the files that you're going to use for the plugin. So we're just going to take this and we're going to drag and drop. And we're going to continue. Yes. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and launch OBS again. All right, so the move transition allows you to move elements in a scene without separating the sources. In a shorter way of saying it, that's like saying that instead of us, every time we normally transfer from one scene to the next, we got to use the scene transitions that already exist. So like the fade or the cut, in this case, we're actually going to make one that allows us to move the elements around and use a lot more nice, fun transitions that are actually moving the elements opposed to cutting entire scenes one to the next. So as an example, we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. So we're just going to duplicate. So we got scene 2. So scene 2 looks exactly like scene 1. So let's go ahead and move some stuff around. So I'm going to say I'm going to be over here instead. And scene 1, we're going to put me way down here. Okay. Now we're going to add a move transition. And this gets a little bit complicated, but don't feel like you're supposed to know what all of this does. It's more of just kind of where things are coming and going. So it's completely up to you how you want to see it work. I prefer to make sure that in the matched items, the transition is none. So this keeps things in place when you're going from 1 to the X. But you'll see that the transitions will allow us to move from one to the other. So now you see, instead of having to do a cut between them, they're just moving. And we can actually modify this so it slows it down as well. So let's say switch point, curve, and we want to say not disappearing items. So for matched items, let's make it a little slower. And so we just added a curve to it. I picked the wrong one, but yeah, you get the idea. You can play around with it. You can definitely have a bunch of fun with kind of the settings and stuff like that with how you set it up. So definitely one thing that'll make it look a lot nicer for some of your viewers as you go from one scene to another. And the world of plugins is huge. There's a lot of plugins that exist that are just kind of, it's okay, but there's others that are really helpful. So let's go ahead and do one last one real quick, and go to resources. And we're going to look for one that says virtual cam. I feel like it's going to take longer than it should. Good old Google. Oh, look, we found it. Okay. All right. So virtual cam is a really fun and very powerful software to use if you're using OBS. This takes whatever our output is in OBS and allows it for us to use it in Zoom, in Spell Table, in anything else that we want to use that looks for cameras as a source. And we're going to go ahead and download that real quick. Just like before, we're going to do this easy peasy. Oh, this one has an installer. Exciting. Okay. So just as before, let's go ahead and close OBS. We're going to go ahead and open it again. And now we have virtual cam. So let's do, we're just going to start. And let's head over to something like, let's use Spell Table. Ooh. Now everyone can see my username and password. This will be good. I like it. All right, so I guess we're just gonna create a new game. Let's yeah, let's do that just to be safe. All right, so now we're gonna select our camera that we want to use, and instead of using the integrated, we're gonna use the OBS camera. I'm sure it doesn't like that I'm doing this crazy mess on the fly. There it goes. All right. And now that that's up, we're going to pull up OBS real quick. And I just want to be able to show you guys what that looks like when we change scenes. So now you can see in Spell Table, we're actually able to use the scenes that we have specifically in OBS. So this is a great starting point for anyone who wants to get into live streaming. Not only that, but for people who do use Spell Table who want to add that better view or add, you know, a face cam to it if you have two cams, or even if, let's say your playmat is, you know, an odd size and you got that weird offset playmat. So let's pretend that this image is our playmat, and you got your table and desk here, and it's not quite centered on screen. You can use OBS to modify that. So you can just take that camera image, blow it up, and then recenter it so that you have everything centered in your screen. You don't have to worry about the edges of the table being prevalent in your spell table. Same goes for if you're doing, you know, top down for your paper live stream. If you have different cameras for each one of these, you can actually blow it up and then move it around to where you want it so that it fits and fills the screen that you have. So I think I'm out of time pretty much. There's so much more I want to show you guys and so much more I want to get into, but this is kind of like a getting started, getting you into it, and making sure that you guys have the opportunity to use OBS and explore, right? Plugins are definitely a huge backbone to a lot of what makes OBS a lot more expansive versus some of the other options that you have. And I think a lot of people think that it's a lot more complicated than it really is. And I want to make sure that you guys can see right here in front of you that we added some plugins. We got to make some cool transitions, and we can use the virtual cam to use it in things like Spell Table and make our view look better, make everything look better, add, you know, a second camera to everything, kind of have fun with it, just show your friends that, you know, you can move stuff around when you want to, and make it look good. There's no reason why, you know, you should limit yourself based off of what you see in front of you with the base OBS. There's so many things you can do. Another fun little thing that I'll show you real quick before I go is OBS uses what's called a live file system. What that means is they use whatever is the active file in place, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to change our background, and I'll show you what I mean here. So we're going to open this up. Perfect. So we're gonna move this over here. We're gonna stop our little virtual cam here so I can get that out of the way. All right, so what does the live file system mean to you, and why should you care? Well, the live file system allows most changes to happen on the fly, and as you get more into it, you can build folders, drag and drop, move stuff. You can do whole changes to your overlay just by replacing existing files that you already have pointed to. So we're going to go ahead and do that as a quick example here. We're just going to go ahead and where did that go? Oh. Is that a PNG? Annoyingly enough. Okay. Sure. So let's find a different one instead. Oh man, are any of these going to be consistent? Oh, sorry for the sirens in the background. Okay, there we go. That one's consistent. Okay. Okay, so we have our background here, and we're gonna change it. So we got a new image loaded up. We got it ready. We're gonna go ahead and change our background, and so we're gonna just do save, and we're gonna save over the existing file, and you're gonna notice that our background changes as well. Obviously, to avoid scaling issues, you can just go to transform, and we're just going to go up, down, and that should lock it in there. So if we go back to this, bam. So ideally, you'd have images of the same size, and everything else that obviously matches. But what that means is that you can create a background, you can create an overlay, you can create something, and as long as it's the same size, same file type, so on and so forth, you can save over an existing file. And so that means that you have a lot more freedom with changing your space without having to go through 35 different scenes, adding all these different elements and images. You can actually name stuff the same and then use different folders and copy and paste over them in existing place, and that means that you have a lot more freedom with what you can do. So I'm 1 minute over. I want to show you guys more, but we'll save that for next time, or at least the next session we do. But I did a quick little video of something that's an example of this on YouTube with card previews in OBS and using higher resolution images instead of just ones generically. So you can have a chance to play around with this. This opens the world of infinite possibilities for overlays, layouts, everything that you're doing. If you take a look at MTG Lexicon, you'll see that we have these really fancy borders, and we're constantly changing those out for different images to build our overlay and make it look beautiful. Every time we change commanders, you notice that we try and match a commander like profile and everything else to the actual commander that we have. So this is kind of the first step of that. It's obviously a lot more complicated, but this is the first step of that and getting your way into that process. So thank you again, everyone who's joined me for this portion of the opening for how to stream good. Hopefully you guys learned some stuff and some things. And we're going to go ahead and get ready to get into our first game of the day that we have coming up. We've got Logan, the Joho. We got Anton, All Hail Bullis. And then we've got... oh, man, I'm blanking already. I better get off this thing. And Budget Commander. So I'm going to go ahead and step off and give you guys an opportunity to... give a second to get everything in your brain while I get ready to do the next transition. Thank you very much, and we'll see you guys in a second.